everybody. Welcome to the show. Let's see. Orientation is locked on this device. Let's see. I'm not even sure if I'm live. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, how are
Good to see you as well. Let me double check. I want to make sure that we're up. I'm not exactly sure. There we go. Lisa Bloom. Lisa, I think we're live. We've been live for the last 25 seconds. So I'm just doing this from home because this is an emergency broadcast, everyone. This is our emergency show today. And it is in regard to that just crossed the wire and just came over the news. And that is regarding the music mogul Sean Diddy Combs. He was arrested here in New York City tonight, we are told. Lisa, we're told that the indictment is sealed. The
Yes.
charges were not announced as of yet, but according to a source that they believe it is racketeering and sex trafficking. Okay, so can you explain to me? And I understand that your client is Dawn Richards, right? Who has filed a lawsuit against Sean Diddy Combs for
Yes.
abuse of her, for Cassie Ventura, and for Kim Porter. Correct?
Those are some of the allegations, yes, that she witnessed a lot of the abuse of Cassie Ventura and Kim Porter. And she considered that threatening herself. And also that she herself, Dawn Richard, was pretty brutally abused by him. That's her allegation.
Yeah. So why, Lisa? Can you explain to us why would they do this, and why would they seal it? And are we going to find out any information from this sealed indictment? You're the lawyer. Explain to us what's going on with that.
Sure. So let me back up. We all saw that brutal video of Sean Combs beating and kicking his girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, when she was down. There's no question that he's an abuser of women, that he's physically violent. And if that's what he did in public in the hallway of a hotel, we can only imagine what he did behind closed doors. She filed her lawsuit about 10 months ago. The very next day, it was settled. I think he was hoping to hush the whole thing up. But once it came out, other people came forward. And now, by my count, 8 women and 1 man have accused him of similar types of abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, sexual harassment, some really brutal stuff. We know that his 2 homes in Los Angeles and New York were raided several months ago. And I think very importantly, they took hard drives, they took computers and electronics, and that surely would have a treasure trove of information, just as it would for any of us if we had our devices taken, right? So there has been grand jury and investigation. I don't know exactly what went on there because that's a secret proceeding. It's behind closed doors. And as you say, now this indictment is sealed. Why is it sealed? Probably because it contains names of victims of alleged sexual abuse. And so they're probably trying to protect the names of the victims. Maybe also because they are trying to keep some of this confidential so that witnesses can't say, well, they just got it from the indictment, right? If they have firsthand knowledge. So sometimes law enforcement does that. Ultimately, I think it probably will be unsealed. But I want to tell everybody out there that, on behalf of the victim, the alleged victim, Dawn Richard, who I represent, this is a very big day. This is a very moving and big day. I don't think she ever thought she would see this day. That day is here. But an arrest, as you know well, Dawn, from having covered so many high profile cases, is just the beginning. The prosecutors have to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. We have to prove our civil case by a preponderance of the evidence. And so we really implore any other victims who are out there, any other accusers, to please come forward, talk to the attorneys representing the victims like me, talk to law enforcement like the FBI, because every case requires evidence and witnesses to get a conviction. And this is just the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Lisa, I'm looking down because I'm trying to get caught up on the story. I just want to make sure that I have everything correctly here. And yes, I do. So, Lisa, let me just read some of this, right? And you're the perfect person to have. Lisa is an amazing attorney. She represents victims and she always does it well. And so, Lisa, we
Thank you,
appreciate
Don.
it. And here's the breaking news. Sean Combs, and this is according to the New York Times. I waited for a big outlet to report this to make sure that we are reporting this and we have it accurately. Sean Combs, the music mogul whose career has been upended by sexual assault lawsuits and a federal investigation, was arrested at a Manhattan hotel on Monday evening after a grand jury indicted him. So let's go over paragraph by paragraph. arrested at a hotel. They didn't make him turn himself in. Did they go in to get him? What would happen in this case, Lisa? I know that you're not directly involved.
Yeah, and I see that his lawyers said, this was not necessary, that he was in New York because he was expecting these charges to be brought. I'm sure his lawyers don't like it, but his lawyers don't get to call the shots. I guess they wanted special treatment for him. They didn't get it. I assume that law enforcement either just wanted to do it by the book. You go in and arrest the guy like you would with anybody else. You don't have to make a deal with his lawyers if you don't want to. Or possibly they were afraid that he would flee because he does have a lot of resources still. I think he is a billionaire, perhaps a couple times over. And somebody with that kind of resources can easily flee. So that may be one of the reasons why they just said, let's do it. We're going to go in and we're going to arrest him.
The indictment is sealed and the charges were not announced, but Mark Agnifilo, right, a lawyer for Mr. Combs, as you know, I've heard of his name as well, said that he believed that he is being charged with racketeering and sex trafficking. To me about that. Racketeering and
So
sex trafficking for what?
yes, so I'm happy to do that. So racketeering is also called RICO, which is a federal law, and that just means there's a conspiracy among at least two people to break the law and an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Look, we don't know exactly what's alleged, as you say, because it's sealed, but we do know that he's been accused by 8 women and 1 man of sexual misconduct. So I'm going to assume that it is probably about the sexual abuse of women and perhaps men well, and that there are multiple people involved. In the lawsuit that we filed last week on behalf of Don Richard, we named 20 defendants because this didn't just happen by Sean Combs's hand. We allege that there were a lot of individuals who were complicit, and the law has evolved in recent years to go after people who are complicit, like Ghislaine Maxwell against Jeffrey Epstein. I represented 11 Jeffrey Epstein victims. We got to bring down the people who are complicit, not just the perpetrators. So that's what the racketeering charge is. Sex trafficking, it's broader than what most people think. Most people think of sex trafficking, they think of like kidnapping women or girls, taking them across state lines for sexual purposes. That's one kind of sex trafficking, but it's much broader, and it's essentially coercing, enticing, or tricking people into sexual misconduct for a commercial purpose. The commercial purpose could be to get a job or to keep a job. So we've seen a lot of casting couch cases be framed as sex trafficking cases. And at my law firm, we've filed a lot of cases, again, like, for example, against Jeffrey Epstein, and called it sex trafficking, and the courts have upheld it. So I think that's probably going to be one of the charges here.
Yeah. Okay, well, now tell us about John Richard. You said you filed a what did you file? A complaint, you said, for that they are complicit?
Yes, we filed a federal complaint in the SDNY, the Southern District of New York, a civil case on her behalf last week. Dawn Richard is a very popular, successful singer in her own right. She was sort of discovered on the show Making the Band back in 2004, which was a Sean Combs show. She was selected. It was like a reality show for people trying to make it in the music industry. She then was selected for the group Danity Kane, which became popular and had a lot of hit songs. She was on the show Making the Band, and then later she was on a second Diddy band that was called Diddy Dirty Money. And we filed her case alleging 20 different causes of action against him, including sex trafficking on the civil side. We filed that last week against Sean Combs and against a number of individuals and entities in the music industry who we contend were complicit, who knew what was going on, and they turned a blind eye to it or actually helped Sean Combs in his enterprise.
Lisa, so what you're saying to me, as I understand it, is that there's much more to come here, other than Dawn Richards, John Richard, and others, Cassie Ventura, Kim Porter, etc.
Yes, I think this is just the beginning. I think this is the tip of the iceberg. I mean, look, Don, how many high profile cases have we seen where a woman comes out and then another woman comes out and then the floodgates are opened? So generally, if there's 2, 3, 4 victims who come forward, there's usually a lot more. Sean Combs has been very active and out there having these parties for many, many years where a lot of the allegations have been of sexual misconduct at parties. He's been a very powerful man that people were afraid of in the music industry for many, many years. And I will also tell you, as somebody who's been doing sexual abuse cases for decades, I think the music industry is the worst and is overdue for its Me Too reckoning. We've seen it in other industries. The music industry. People have just gotten away with it. We saw that in the R. Kelly case. R. Kelly was brought to justice, but it took a long time, and now it's happening to Sean Combs.
So if you're just joining us, Lisa Bloom, attorney for the people. Her mother, Gloria Allred, also attorney for the people, attorney for the victims, and they do a fantastic job of supporting and litigating for especially women who have been and men who have been abused by the system and accused in many cases of sexual assault and discrimination. We have just gotten the breaking news just a short time ago that Sean Combs, a music mogul whose career has been upended recently by sexual assault lawsuits and the federal investigation, was arrested at a Manhattan hotel on Monday evening after a grand jury indicted him. Now, Lisa, a statement from Mr. Combs, his legal team, said that they were disappointed with the decision to prosecute him and noted that he had been cooperative with the investigation and had voluntarily relocated to New York last week in anticipation of these charges. And then it goes on to say in this statement that Sean Diddy Combs is a music icon, a self-made entrepreneur, a loving family man, and a proven philanthropist who has spent the last 30 years building an empire, adoring his children, and working to uplift the Black community, the statement said. He is an imperfect person, but he is not a criminal. What do you say to that, Lisa?
Well, it's true. He is a music icon. He is a very wealthy and powerful man. He does have a family. He is a philanthropist. And also, he is now accused of some serious crime. So these things are not inconsistent. And I would hope that gone are the days where we think that sexual predators are just guys in trench coats lurking around alleys. I think we all know now that somebody can be very successful, they can have a family, they can be philanthropists, like look at Bill Cosby, for example, or look at Jeffrey Epstein, and they can still do horrible things to women, and they will be brought to justice for that.
How did this go on for so long, Lisa? I think I know the answer to that because people are so powerful, and people are afraid to come forward. I spoke with Cassie's a makeup artist, and she said, I helped Cassie. I heard on the other side of the door her words. I heard them fighting on the other side of the door, and we ended up taking her to the hospital. Do you know the story I'm talking about?
Yeah,
How
yeah.
does
How
this
did it
go on for so
go
long?
along? You know, these things are very complex. I've represented victims since 1986, Don, and the law now understands it takes victims a long time to come. Somebody grabs your purse and runs off, you're going to call the police immediately. But if somebody you know and trust, somebody who you may even care about, and who holds your career in the palm of their hands, abuses you, you're not going to come forward immediately. You might never come forward. Some people on their deathbed tell their story for the first time, or they take these stories of sexual abuse to their grave. Others, it takes them 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. It takes a long time to disentangle. What I see representing so many women in sexual abuse is women are willing to put up with a lot when it happens to us, but we don't like it when it happens to somebody else and they're called a liar. I think Cassie Ventura having the courage to come forward and file her lawsuit, even though it was settled the next day, and Sean Combs's attorney basically calling her a liar, fired up a lot of people. And it fired my client, Dawn Richard, because she witnessed a lot of the incidents that happened to Cassie, she alleges in her complaint, right? And women will stand up for other women. Victims will come forward to stand up for victims. Anybody out there who is a victim of this man, I urge you to come forward as well. Now is the time. And it's always the right time to do justice, even if it happened many years ago. It's always the right time.
So I just read Sean Combs's attorney statement. This isn't a statement. This is a statement on behalf of your client from you. You said, given the brutal beating of Sean Combs' girlfriend caught on video and the 8 people who have now accused him of abuse in court filings, including my brave client Dawn Richard, this arrest seems long overdue. It's a big moving day for victims, but an arrest is only the beginning. May justice be delivered to Mr. Combs. We implore other accusers to come forward in solidarity and join us in this fight. It is important, you believe, for others to come along. And
It
you
is
said
essential.
long overdue.
Yes, it is essential. Listen, Don, I sat at Ghislaine Maxwell's criminal trial. I sat at Bill Cosby's criminal trial. I represented four women against him. I represented four women who claimed that Donald Trump sexually abused them. There is strength in numbers. And there's always reasons why this one or that can't testify, is too afraid to testify, gets sick when the trial comes, gets. We need as many people as possible to come forward and be brave now, because that day like this warrants and the courage. Listen, Don Richard, my client, is very brave, stands on the shoulders of Cassie Ventura. Cassie Ventura stands on the shoulders of the women who came before her in other who had the courage. And I will also tell you, it can be very empowering to come forward. Scary, of course, but it's very empowering to come forward, tell your story, believed, and get justice. I always tell women we can do hard things. Do hard things. It makes us stronger, it makes us braver. We're an inspiration to others and to our children. And that's why I think it's very important for people to come forward now.
Lisa, you're so committed to this. Again, I do have to commend you because there aren't very many people who do this, and you would jump on immediately like this in order to get that message across. So I know that this means a lot to you, and I know you understand the power now of streaming and the power of YouTube. And so there are lots of people watching, and this will live on, right, in perpetuity online. What do you say to them, Lisa?
What do I? Well, first of all, Don, I'm a big fan. It's nice to see you again. It's nice to talk about the news with you again, because you have such a long and storied record in the news. So it's just very nice to see you. And what do I say to just everyone about the arrest today? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. Because there may be people who are watching dealing with the same thing. Maybe there's been abuse in their lives and they're afraid
Yeah.
to come forward and they
Say
don't know
this.
about people like you, advocates like you.
Listen, you first of all, you do know advocates like me. You might be one yourself. You just don't know it. Take baby steps and seek justice, and you're going to find out what you're capable. But you may have a mother, a sister, a teacher, a counselor who can be an advocate for you, who can fight for you. So there's everyday heroes all around you. What I would say, just generally about this arrest today, no one is above the law in our country. The law will come for you. FBI raids of both of his homes in LA and New York, the witnesses who have already talked to law enforcement, the witnesses who probably will come talk to law enforcement now forward. This is a giant team effort to bring somebody like Sean Combs to justice. And I think it's going to happen.
One more thing I want to ask you is that, and I'm going to read a statement, I read something from the report, and then I have a question for you, Lisa. The arrest of Mr. Combs, 54, makes him the highest profile figure in the music world to face criminal charges for sexual misconduct since R. Kelly, the R&B singer who, after trials in New York and Chicago, was sentenced to more than 30 years in prison for child sex crimes, sex trafficking, and racketeering. My question is, what does justice look like for you and Don Richard? Or Richard. I say Richard because I'm from Louisiana, but Richard.
It is Richard. That's how
It is.
she says it as well.
Okay,
I
good.
think we didn't put a dollar amount on our lawsuit, because some lawyers you'll see, oh, we filed $100 million lawsuit. I don't do that at my law firm, and especially would not do that in this case, because yes, we will be seeking compensation for her at the end of the case, doing a civil case, but it's about so much more than that. It's about accountability. It's about Dawn being believed. It's about people understanding what it takes for somebody like Don Richard to come forward against a man as powerful as Sean Combs. So she wants the truth to come out. She wants justice to be done. Of course, she wants to win. That would be justice. The dollar amount is really just, an extra part of it, but it's not.
One more thing. How much of an effect did that videotape from CNN change the tone and the trajectory of um, that case and your case and possibly cases to come?
Yeah, I think it was huge, Don. I mean, you saw it, right? It's sickening. Here he is. He's got a towel wrapped around him. He's chasing her down a hall. He knocks her down. When she's down, he's kicking her over and over. Are you kidding me? This is done in a public hallway. I mean, what is he doing behind closed doors? If this is what he's doing in a public area of a hotel, it's just horrendous. So I think it was really a game changer. Let's keep in mind, before that video was released, his attorneys were essentially calling her a liar, saying claims were false. Okay. Then the video comes out. Oh, well, you can only imagine behind the scenes the publicists and the spin doctors and the crisis managers, lawyers circling around. And what are we going to do? Okay, we're going to have him put out a video where straight to camera he expresses remorse. But even there, it's really all about him. Oh, this is so hard for me. This was one of the hardest days of my life. Me. And he doesn't apologize to Cassie, which is what he should have done. Instead, he makes it all about himself. So I think it was a game changer. We saw what he did, saw how he talked. I mean, he's just a classic narcissist. And, we see him for who he really is.
Lisa, I can't tell you how much how appreciative I am for you doing this, and again for you and your mom, as you know. Um, I was in the documentary for your mom, and I said some nice things about her, and I agree.
Thank you.
Listen, I think she's amazing, and I think you're amazing, and I wish you the best of luck and your clients as well. And if you ever need anything, you ever want to come on, please do. I may be calling you back to get you
I
to come on the
would.
show. So
It's
my regards to Miss Gloria. Okay.
Thank you so much, Don. It's great to talk to you. Great to see you. Be well.
Thank you very much. That was the renowned Lisa Bloom attorney joining us just there just seconds ago to give us the update on the information regarding um, Sean Combs. I am hoping to get Monique Presley on in just moments to talk to us to give us her legal assessment. I'm going to tell her to dial in again. This is all breaking, and let's see if we can get her connected. This is all breaking now. And again, this is according to the New York Times, which is an esteemed publication. And according to the New York Times, Sean P. Diddy Combs, as he is known, has been arrested here in New York City in Manhattan. He was arrested earlier in a hotel room. Of course, we know what happened with Cassie Ventura when earlier this year CNN released that horrific videotape. And let's see, it's asking to join. She is saying, I will try to get Monique on. Monique, I don't see you. So I know you said just asking to join, but I do not see you on my thing. So let's see. Stand by, everyone. Let me try to get Monique on. She's trying to get on. I've never done it this way before, and I'm trying to figure out how to do it, but I'm not seeing it. Everyone. So I don't know how to do it. Let's see. Let's see here. Talk to my producers. It says asking to join, waiting for host. Well, she is connecting. Here we go. Perfect. Okay, so there we go. Monique, thank you for joining. How are you?
I'm great, Don. How are you?
Great. So this is an emergency broadcast, right? This is our breaking news broadcast, and I'm so glad that you could join us because I think this is a very important story. And usually we are all produced up, right? We get our producers, they go on, we have the show, we have the background, we have the graphics or whatever. But I am at home, and I don't want to have everybody come into the studio to do a show. So I appreciate you joining us. I'm not sure if you heard my conversation with Lisa Bloom.
I did.
You did hear it. Okay.
The bulk of it, yes.
So Sean P. Diddy Combs arrested at a hotel here in New York City. Apparently, they went to him. He had moved back to New York. I think they said that on the request of prosecutors, and he said, they're disappointed by the charges. It is sealed, and the charges have not been announced. What do you make of this?
There's not much to make of that. We don't know anything. That's why I found your conversation with Lisa so interesting. Um, I mean, it's all conjecture at this point. I know she has a client, and I know that the client has things that are being alleged in a civil lawsuit. But what we are hearing so far is that um, Mr. Combs moved to New York in anticipation of charges, that there has been cooperation, which I I don't necessarily know what to make of that. You know, I mean, I'm a defense attorney. Lisa is a plaintiff lawyer. We've obviously done this dance a lot of times at this point. Um, I think when you cooperate with the hopes of something going away. That says to me that maybe we're not going to see a kitchen sink type laundry list of things. I don't assume a lot by the fact that the grand jury decided that charges were warranted. As I've said probably to you many times over the past 20 years, the grand jury belongs to the prosecutor. And if you are the Southern District of New York, the grand jury is the prosecutor. I mean, forget about it. You walk in there and you say, charge that piece of pizza, and the piece of pizza is going to get whatever charges you say the pizza needs to get charged. So we don't know a lot now. I'm watching the news and they're saying maybe sex trafficking, maybe
Right.
racketeering. RICO is what you charge when you can't get anything else. It attaches criminality to, like, if we all go to brunch, and they want you, they get you, me plus my neighbor, and they say we have an enterprise. And if you'll remember, Fonnie Willis came under some scrutiny because of the RICO charges against all of these people who were charged in Georgia with the criminal enterprise of stealing an election. And so there are many in the activist world who have issues with RICO because most of the times it's used against Black folks who did one thing so that they can get them for 20 things. So that's kind of where we are now. Tonight, Sean Combs is an innocent man who has been charged with things we don't know, and who was intentionally arrested so that he could spend at least this night in jail. There's no other reason, because they could have just taken him straight for processing tomorrow. It's not all of this that Lisa's saying about him being a flight risk. Then he would have just stayed in Bora Bora. You don't come to New York because you're a flight risk. It's
Well,
absurd.
let me get in here because, as we know, innocent until proven guilty. People are very emotional about this. I'm sure you've heard it's about time. You know, he's a predator, and on and on and on. There have been so many allegations. Lisa Bloom, as you said, is, what do you call it? You said she's a plaintiff's attorney, right?
Yes.
You are a defense attorney, which is why I wanted to get both perspectives. I want to get your perspective. If you are defending Diddy, how would you do it? What do you say? Defend his case, please.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not, Dawn. And that's the thing. I saw the same video that Lisa saw, that the world saw, of what he did with his then girlfriend Cassie, and there's no way that I'm saying anything other than that's horrible. That's monstrous. That's unacceptable. And I don't know. People say if he did that there, what did he do elsewhere? I don't know. People say he did that then. He could have gotten help. He could have changed, which is his story. Maybe so. That again goes into the what we don't know part of it. But there's no case to defend right now where this arrest is concerned, because we have no idea what he's been charged with. I can't defend a man when I don't know what the charges are, and I can't defend a man when I don't know, whether he's tried to maybe already plead this thing out. Maybe that's what they were in New York trying to do, trying to get it resolved. I mean, I have no idea. What I won't be defending is abusing women. That's not happening. And if there were young girls sex trafficked, I'm not saying that's right. What I can say as a criminal defense lawyer, but just as a lawyer period, who recognizes and appreciates process, especially in this country where Black men are disproportionately mistreated by the system, what I can say is that until we know innocent until proven guilty is not a fiction. It is what is necessary to ensure that people aren't lynched. It is what's necessary to ensure that people who are innocent do not get wrongfully convicted and go to jail. There are reasons why the burden is the highest in the law for criminal convictions. Because, and I see even in the chat, people are saying, yikes, don't bring race into this. You ain't Black. Because what we always have to remember is that in the criminal justice system, there is one system of justice that has been available to countless white, wealthy defendants from the beginning of this country. And then there's the rest of us. And I make no apology for that. That doesn't mean that I don't want the people who commit crimes to not be convicted of those crimes. It just means that we have to always have our eyes open about the way that this system works. And that is why I, with intention, work it into every conversation where people are being charged with crime, because the system just doesn't work the same way for everybody.
So I'm reading some of the reports, okay, and I'll read one. I read the New York Times. Now let's read the, from um, the folks over at TMZ who, this is their stock and trade, right? 8:05 p.m. They had an update that said just a couple of hours before Diddy got busted, he was confidently strolling around New York City with his son King Combs. He even stopped to greet some fans and take selfies. Now this is what I want you to comment on. A law enforcement source tells TMZ Diddy's arrest was scheduled for Tuesday, but something happened that caused the feds to move in a day earlier. However, U.S. Attorney Damian Williams says federal agents took him in based on a sealed indictment filed by the Southern District of New York. Southern District of New York, man, that's a tough one. Diddy was just arrested and taken into federal custody in New York on Monday night, TMZ has learned. Okay, so he apparently, it was supposed to happen on Tuesday. Something went wrong or something came up. And then sources are telling TMZ that Homeland Security swooped into the Midtown Hotel late Monday where Diddy was staying, and they arrested him. We have unconfirmed reports that the feds are searching his hotel room. Okay, what do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, nothing went wrong. That's what they do. What went wrong? He came to get arrested. He's not changing his mind. He's out doing selfies. He came to get arrested. That this is I'm thankfully looking at the chat tonight, and this is what I'm saying. This has nothing whatsoever to do with whether he did what we'll find out he's being accused of, whether he pleads or not, whether he stands trial or not. There are certain things, and you're right, Don. I grimaced like you just did when I heard that it was SDNY doing this. I'm like, this is the last place. And I don't make a practice of wanting to be arrested anywhere. If it looks like it's halfway might be thought of to be illegal, I go the other way. So but if you were anybody, you don't want SDNY. I mean, they're good at what they do. And one of the things they do is teach you a lesson. And so the lesson started tonight when apparently Homeland Security went in and said, you're going to get processed like everybody else, and then you're going to wait. Like, we can't even process you. We're just going to hold you, and then we'll process you tomorrow. And people have here's the other thing that I will say about the law, which is why I said I'm not here as a criminal defense lawyer, I'm just a lawyer. People say so and so deserves this, so and so deserves that, etc. And I want to make sure people understand the protections against cruel and unusual punishment, the protections where you have to prove cases with evidence in this country. So somebody can't just say him there, Don, he did it, and them lock you up. Those are for the most heinous of monsters to the misdemeanor jaywalker. That it belongs to everybody for a reason, because we have people like the Central Park now exonerated 5 who were called monsters, and had people like the person running on behalf of the GOP for president of the United States calling for their execution, and then them serving years and years and years only to be found not guilty when the science caught up with the proof. So it is not a question of, at least this night, what SDNY can or cannot prove. The issue is the rights that belong to people who are citizens of this country, and the fact that that must mean everybody. We can't slip up and say, oh, but they deserved it. No, they didn't. If they aren't treated right by our government, that is a slope that will slip and slip and slip. And we will end up in a situation where we have somebody who's been accused and found guilty of 34 felony counts and running for president. That's the slippery slope.
Yeah, I hear you. Look, and we take that innocent until proven guilty. Um, we take that pretty seriously, and we should in this country. And I understand what you're saying. You're not going to defend. You're not defending that video, right? But as a court officer, an officer of the court, you have to defend the law, right?
Yes.
Right. And
And
so
and I, and he has able counsel, and they will defend him. And I just don't. I'm like, tomorrow after I read and after they unseal this indictment, I may have something different to say about the charges. But I think one of the things we do as a country is we get so excited, and we get woo. I mean, I'm in with intention not talking about any of my past cases tonight, and thank you, Don, for not asking me. But we get
about you what?
prior cases, but
Oh,
we get
oh yes.
we we get really excited about things that are very grave and serious. um and I think we get over our skis in that a lot of times. And so right now we just have somebody who's been sued in civil court, who we see on video, can't deny the video, has done unacceptable things with a person, but we know nothing, really nothing beyond that.
Okay, let me just read this, right? Just so everyone knows what's going on. In case you are just joining us, again, we can call it an emergency broadcast or breaking news or what have you. Usually, I am, oh, wow, I'm preparing for bed right now. But listen, Sean Diddy Combs arrested here in New York City, arrested on a federal indictment in New York City on Monday. That's according to the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York. Earlier this evening, federal agents arrested Sean Combs based on a sealed indictment filed by the SDNY, the Southern District of New York. We expect, and you mentioned this, and I want to know why wait. We expect to move to unseal the indictment in the morning, and we'll have more to say at that time, U.S. Attorney Damian Williams said in a statement. The statement says, USA Damian Williams, earlier this evening, federal agents arrested Sean Combs based on a sealed indictment filed by SDNY. Again, we expect to, just as the news outlet reported, we expect to move to unseal the indictment in the morning, and we'll have more to say at that time. Why would they wait until the morning? Why can't they unseal the indictment and just do the whole thing and tell everybody what's going on?
Well, they're going to unseal the indictment when there's a presentment, and arguably the defendant has the
Explain what a
right.
presentment is, please, Monique.
Well, when he appears in front of a judge and he is given the opportunity to hear the charges against him, and they don't just send you an email. There's a formal process for that. Even when you're arrested, you may not get all of it. And this is insane. I'm watching a little bit of the chat. People are like, I don't want to know about the Constitution. I just want to know how she would defend it. And I'm like, I'm trying to tell you the reason why you can't defend the unknown, because that's fantasy land. So he will have an opportunity to hear what the charges are. They will unseal the indictment. Perhaps the reason for the seal is because there are people named in it, but that doesn't matter between today and tomorrow. That's not likely either. What is more likely, and I'll say it again, is they made an agreement to arrest him tomorrow, and they arrested him today instead. And that's not for you to feel sorry for him. It's just that there's a lot that people maybe don't know about what goes on behind the scenes when you're marching up to something like this happening, and everybody on your side, your legal team, knows it's going to happen. Prosecution is telling you whatever they want to tell you. You're getting information like they talked to this witness, they talked to this person. Obviously, they've raided all your properties. They're asking you for information, etc. And no, somebody who flies in to be arrested is not a flight risk. They came into the country to present themselves. So it's just, there are a lot of things, and they may have had their own reasons, but sometimes the reason is, rightfully, wrongfully, sometimes the reason is, you are on our turf now. You will not have any special considerations. If this is the one night in jail you get, we got you this one night. And sometimes it is the one night that they get. So that's like a superior, get in your mental type thing that is done. And I should mention, it's not just done to wealthy billionaires like Sean Combs. I've had many criminal defendant, indigent criminal defendant, who we knew things were happening years ago when I was working at Public Defender Service. And they would arrest them on a Friday night because there's no arraignment on a Saturday. There's no arraignment on a Sunday. They knew they were going to sit them in jail for a couple of days. And yes, I can name a list around this country of people who have died waiting for their arraignments, who have had rough rides, like a Freddie Gray, who never got to a presentment or an arraignment. And so these things are serious to me, which is why I bring them up.
Okay, so Monique, let's go to, because you said you're looking at some of the things in the chat, right? And usually, I mean,
Yeah.
people, as many people are in the chats, you're going to get as many opinions, right? You know what they say opinions are, but we like to have our subscribers weigh in. And then this is one that caught my eye because it's saying, where did I just lost it? It said something about, let me just hang on. I just want to make sure, because I think this is important. There was someone in the thing saying, why is Monique defending Diddy? And I don't think Monique is defending Diddy. I think she's trying to explain the law to you, which protects not only the person who is a plaintiff, but it protects the defendant as well. You can't go into a proceeding assuming, even though there may be mounds of evidence. We saw the tape. That tape is just inexplicable to me. I don't understand how anyone could get to that point or do that.
And
right?
the criminal law does not protect plaintiffs. That's the
Right.
civil law. The criminal law protects the accused. Criminal defendants are the ones who have the protection, and the state
But can you
is
please
on the
explain
other
that I'm
side.
explaining the law under which Diddy was arrested, not that you are saying that he's innocent. Please explain to people who think that you're defending him.
Oh, no, I mean, and I've said, and I'll say again, everything that I've seen is reprehensible, the things that we've seen with our own eyes. That doesn't mean that that's what's being charged. In fact, I don't believe that what we have seen is going to be what is charged. But criminal defendants, and the protection is not for Sean Combs. The protection is for you. The protection is for your children. The protection is for if you are ever stopped on the side of the road and accused of a crime because you resemble someone who committed a crime, to make sure that you don't end up dead or under a jail before it gets figured out. That's why we have a constitution. That's why we have equal protection. That's why we have the Fourth Amendment. That's why we have the Eighth Amendment. All of these things are not to protect the 1, 2, or 8 billionaires who get charged. It's for everyday citizens like us. And what we have to ensure is that it's the same for everyone. And that's with me making no statement about what these charges are. If this, I don't try criminal cases anymore. If I was offered this, I wouldn't take it. I'm not interested in it.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that I don't want to see the law respected. Somebody in there said that I'm as dumb as the rocks we kick in Texas, and I think because I'm a Texan that's pretty clever.
Kristen Thompson says, I had been arrested for something I didn't do. It is important to have rights.
We have to. It's all we have, and it's nights like this. I appreciate you, Don, for letting me talk about that, because once we know what the charges are, and let's say they're the most heinous thing there is, but here's what I want people to realize: the Boston bombers had able defense counsel paid for by the government, and they got all of their rights. This man who walked into Emmanuel Temple, had service with them, and then killed them, had all of his rights, and went to Burger King before he was taken into custody for his arraignment. So the way this country works is the way that it works for a reason. Democracy matters, and these are the rules. Now, if we don't like them, sure, just let's be China or something.
The way he did, CW says, the way he did that woman in that hotel was awful. Lock him up for that and all the other bull he's done.
Yeah. I mean, lock him up for what you can charge him and prove, and lock him up for what people are willing to cooperate and do. Ms. Ventura brought a lawsuit after trying for a good period of time to get it settled, and then filed, which was another settlement maneuver, and then settled. And so she may or may not be interested in pursuing the criminal actions that were committed against her, and that too is her right. So we have to understand that this system, I think it's the best in the world still. I have faith in our juries. I have faith in the adversarial system of government, that when it is working properly, it's a check and balance. So
Yeah.
I think that this night at least is important.
We have a poll up, please, everyone who's watching. Make sure you hit the thumbs up because it helps the algorithm. More people will tune in. They'll realize that we're here, and more people will get to hear the analysis from great attorneys like Monique Presley. The poll says, how do you feel about Diddy's arrest? Some says, I'm shocked. I'm pretty surprised. I'm a little surprised. And I think the other one says, not surprised at all. So weigh in. About 400 of you have weighed in, and we appreciate you doing that. So I want to hear what you have to say about it. But again, we're here. We're just analyzing it, and we're going to get new information coming in tomorrow, as Monique explained, and as the U.S. Attorney explained as well, that they're going to unseal this indictment tomorrow. So look for this to be a big day. There's going to be a press.
Sorry,
Yep.
can I just say one more thing? I saw somebody in the chat
Yeah,
who
go for it.
they said, please do not compare Diddy to an everyday person. He has all the money he needs for his legal fees. And people really do think that is what is the difference, but it's not. It certainly can be a benefit if you are able to pay your legal expenses, but
And you can afford high-powered lawyers if you have a lot of money, right? You may
right,
get
but sometimes, for instance, like the District of Columbia Public Defender Service, which is where I went directly out of Howard University School of Law, and they took 10 of us that year out of thousands who applied, and they're still better than anybody you can pay. So it's not really a question of money. It's a question of, no matter how you get the counsel, that you have the rights that go with all of the other laws, that the government has to prove its case, that they can't coerce and pay witnesses, that you have an opportunity to hear the charges before you, that you have an opportunity to answer those charges, that you get to see the evidence that's been presented. And there are many of those things in this country that have failed for many years. And what we also can't confuse it with is the civil system. And I say this as somebody who's been a civil litigator ever since I stopped trying criminal cases. Civil litigation is about money, and don't let anybody lie to you about it. Civil attorneys who sue, they end up sometimes with significantly more money than the plaintiffs, the clients that they represent. And that's that on that. So you can get 40% sometimes when it's after a lawsuit, and sometimes it's 30%, but that's in addition to book deals and et cetera and so on. So I anybody up on a pedestal, and I don't have anybody in the gutter in the legal system. I think it takes all of us to ensure that the job is done well.
It's interesting if he knew he was going to be arrested and he's walking around. Is that PR? I mean, you've had high profile clients as well. If he knew he was going to be arrested, then, nah. What do you think of that, Monique?
Who knows? Is it hubris? Is it ego? Is it PR? Did it piss them off so they arrested him?
What did you make of the statement? What did you make of the
that
statement?
too.
Because we've heard from the attorney's office, right? The Southern District of New York. And let me just read what he says. This is what his attorneys say. We're disappointed with the decision to pursue what we believe is an unjust prosecution of Mr. Combs by the U.S. Attorney's Office. Sean Diddy Combs is a music icon, self-made entrepreneur, loving family man, a proven philanthropist who has spent the last 30 years building an empire, adoring his children, and working to uplift the Black community. That was Mark Agnifilo, the attorney for Mr. Combs, that he said in a statement. He is an imperfect person, but he is not a criminal. To his credit, Mr. Combs has been nothing but cooperative with this investigation, and he voluntarily relocated to New York last week in anticipation of these charges. Please reverse your judgment until you have all the facts. These are the acts of an innocent man with nothing to hide, and he looks forward to clearing his name in court. That's what the statement said as it continued. And again, as we know, this arrest comes months after the first 8 sexual assault lawsuits was filed against Combs last year, and follows a Department of Homeland Security raid on his mansion in Los Angeles and Miami, in mansions, I should say, in Los Angeles and Miami in March. So what do you make of the statement from the attorney?
It's a great statement. That's as much as he can say. He's saying, wait and hear the facts. And we should. And all of those other things are true. I agree with what Lisa said when you two were talking. All of those things can be true, and somebody can still be a criminal. Philanthropy does not mean don't commit crimes. Family man, love your children doesn't mean, mafia people love their families and children, and kill people with abandon and don't care at all.
To
So
help bolster your point, Monique, Latricia T says this comes from the same team that says he was innocent of everything that Cassie accused him of until we saw the video.
yeah, I think that defense attorneys are supposed to speak on behalf of their clients. And they thought that they were in settlement negotiations, and they are bound by attorney-client confidentiality to say nothing other than that. But the statement today is by his lawyer is not really, it's he's not a criminal. But it's also, he's an imperfect man. So I don't know that I would have written that. I don't know. That's not a crisis manager statement, but I mean, maybe they're working their way towards some facts that are about to come out. Never can tell. Never can tell.
You don't know. Okay, so just real quickly here again, look, we know that Diddy has been arrested. We believe
Yeah.
the charges are racketeering and sex trafficking. Monique, who has defended high-profile people as well on similar charges. What do we expect for overnight? He's there. He's in jail, right? He can't bond or bail out. Correct?
No, there's
Okay.
no, because there's no, he hasn't been in front of a judge. Those are things that you have to go in front of a judge to do. And
Okay.
so,
That's what I
in
want
New
to ask you.
York,
What can we expect tomorrow then? What's next, Monique?
it seems like they're slow walking, because I think they said that they're going to turn him over to somebody and then they're going to turn him over to somebody else. Like the Homeland Security people, I think said that they're giving him to some agency, and
Ooh.
then they're taking him to Southern District of New York, and then he'll go in front of a judge. Heck, they might stretch it out another day. I don't know.
Okay, so two things then. You said one, um, why do you think they're slow walking this, if you believe that?
It's your shot.
Okay. And then the other thing is,
Prosecutors don't bring cases when they don't think that they have you, when they don't think that you've committed crimes, when they don't think that they can prove them. So they are dealing with a criminal. That is the way that they are looking at this. And the way, and because of that, they take the actions that go with it. And that's why I said, if TMZ is correct, or wherever I haven't seen that reporting that he was out there shaking hands and taking selfies, they might have said, okay, we'll arrange your next photo.
can
Mugshot.
someone please, Alexa Power says, can someone explain racketeering in layman's terms?
Yes, yes. Racketeering, and the reason people call it RICO is because it's racketeering, an international corporate organization of crime, right? And it means that you have joined with multiple people to commit some offense or planned series of offenses. It used to be, when people said RICO, they would think like the mob, a crime syndicate, a big old organized crime unit. It doesn't have to be that. I actually, and I thank you for asking that, because I pulled up, because I'm always trying to be the person who's right and ready with Don. I pulled up sex trafficking and I pulled up racketeering, just in case people ask. Racketeering is a pattern of illegal activities that are carried out for profit, often by a group of people. These activities can include fraud, extortion, bribery, threats, and violence. Racketeering can also involve operating an illegal business or using a legitimate business for illegal purposes. It can include trying to steal and coerce the votes in an election. We got a former president charged with that right now. That's all RICO charges with him and some of his former representatives and others who were intimidating voters and people who worked in voting polls. It can mean child sex trafficking, pornography, things like that. And some people assumed that because Homeland Security was involved, that it might involve sex trafficking for a minor, but we have not had any evidence of that yet. So it's organizational crime.
Someone asked, will we, and if so, when will we see a mugshot?
If they take the picture tomorrow, I'm sure they'll make sure we see it. And
So
yes, they do take them. It's not like he'll not get processed. It's Southern District of New York.
did they do it already? Is he processed? Did they take the mugshot? Because he should be in a cell, no? Overnight?
No, because apparently he was taken by our own version of mobsters, Homeland Security, that can go anywhere and do anything with anybody. Apologize, criminal defense lawyer here. So maybe not. They and that might not be the only time. He's going to get an official processing in the territory, in the locale where he's being charged. And the fact that it's being charged in New York means that some part of the activities alleged happened in New York.
Monique, let me ask you this. For them to do what they did to someone who is powerful and has as much money as Diddy, the raids on his homes, etc. Do they? Do you have to have pretty? You got to have something pretty good, or no? Is that not always the case? Because I mean, man, he could sue the pants off of them if there's nothing there.
I think that there have been so many reports for so many years of so much fringe conduct that they may have been very interested in an opportunity to nail him. Rightfully so, wrongfully so. That, again, doesn't matter to me. But that doesn't mean that when they went into the homes, they found what would do it. And it doesn't mean necessarily that people will get their satisfaction out of this whole process, because the government can make mistakes. Maybe they already have. We don't know if the evidence that they have will actually end up being used. They may have not found what they expected and be trying to hold on to what they have. Not in the same context at all, but I'm going to raise the name because it's a influential artist with means. We watched what happened in this Jonathan Majors case, and they end up with I mean, they spent all that money, they stripped this man. It ends up looking like, when you see all of the video, he got beat up and kind of ran with his clothes, left his phone behind, and it lands like one finding out of everything, and you end up wondering, one, whether that is worth it, and two, what was driving them to be so insistent upon doing what they did. So sometimes it does not turn out well for them at all. And I'm a supporter of progressive prosecutors. I've never prosecuted, but I support Letitia James. I support Alvin Bragg. I support Fonnie Willis. Just saw her night before last at the Phoenix Awards at CBC. Fanned out, took my picture, fanned over Fonnie, took my picture, and et cetera. Whispered some encouragement in her ear. So I'm glad that they do what they do. But sometimes they're overzealous because they have a lot of power and they don't take no for an answer.
Monique, thank you. I appreciate you appearing here. It's what a night, Monique. I mean, we've been talking about this even, we talked about this on prior broadcasts, and you said that you expected something to come down the pike, and surely you were right. So Monique Presley, a very high-profile, high-powered attorney herself, has helped get us through this story. Thank you, Monique. She is a defense attorney.
I'm a crisis manager, Don. I don't want any cases whatsoever.
Thank you, Monique.
And I have a daily show. Please join me. Make It Make Sense with Monique Presley, noon on IG. That's where you can find me, not in courtroom defending any of these people.
Absolutely. Monique, thank you. And
Thank you, Don.
I was on her show recently, and so I suggest everyone to tune in to Monique's show. Thank you, Monique.
Thank you. I don't know how to hang up. I'm
about
just going to click off. Okay.
You just click off and it'll go back to me,
Thank
hopefully.
you.
And if it doesn't, we'll be all right. So that was Monique Presley. Guys, everyone, I'm so happy that you joined us. We had such great engagement tonight. When I saw this happening, I said, we've got to get on and we have to talk about it. Man, think about how things can change, and how you think that you know someone or you know a situation, or how many of you have been so envious, or you're saying, man, it would be great to be Diddy, to have all of that money, to have billions or whatever. Look, the grass is always greener. You never know what other people are going through. Okay. And look, the people who are accused and watching that videotape, it's just, there's no explanation for that videotape. And what that videotape will show to people is that if you did it to one person, then you can. I'm not saying that you did, but you can do it to someone else, right? Because it is evidence of the behavior. That video is evidence of behavior. And for someone to do that to a woman, I just think it's shocking and to see. I had on Cassie Ventura's makeup artist, and she said that she heard it, him beating her behind the door of a hotel room, I believe it was, and that the makeup artist ended up taking her to the hospital, to the emergency room, or at least calling the doctor for her, I should say. And she said she was afraid at the time to even speak out about it. And so here you go. So in our chat, we have a poll. You can continue to weigh in on it. It says, how do you feel about Diddy's arrest? It says, I'm shocked. I'm pretty shocked. I'm a little shocked. Not surprised at all. So 7% said that they are shocked. 5% says, I'm pretty shocked. 12% say, I'm a little shocked. 76% say, I'm not surprised at all. In the court of public opinion, Sean Diddy Combs is guilty. That's the court of public opinion, right? In the court of legal opinion, he has not been tried. It has not been adjudicated. He did have someone accused him, Cassie Ventura, right, filed a civil litigation against him and won a lot of money. I can't remember the exact dollar amount, but she won a lot of money. So, and folks were saying she left a whole lot of money on the table because they would have asked for more. The court of law is what matters, says Rox 1 SMF. Yes, it does. But when you're also in the business of Diddy, you're in the public business, the court of public opinion matters as well. But people, people say things, right? Are you still going to listen to Diddy's music? Do you still listen to R. Kelly? Right? Do you still listen to folks who have been accused and found either innocent or guilty? That's the test. But if you're in the public eye, credibility matters. Someone says Diddy lost credibility, says Kyoko. Credibility does matter. Thank you, Latricia T, for supporting independent media. I really appreciate it. I should be in bed by now, but I had to get on and talk about this because every time I was doing politics, talking about Donald Trump, talking about whatever, and you guys would come on and say, Don, please talk about Diddy. I talked about Diddy, some of our best rated programs on the Don Lemon Show. So I thank you guys for tuning in. Sean Diddy Combs is somewhere being detained by the Southern District of New York and also Homeland Security. He was arrested by I'm not sure if it was members of the Homeland Security members of the Southern District of New York, but obviously there'd have to be some officers. They said that this indictment is sealed. The charges have not been announced. Tomorrow morning, the indictment will be unsealed. You will hear the charges, and you will probably get a new statement from Sean Diddy Combs, and you will also probably see a mugshot. Okay? That's the very latest. Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, I'll do the Hot Topic show that I do every day to get you prepared for the day. If it's pop culture, if it's entertainment, if it's politics, whatever it is, we're going to discuss it on that show, and we'll bring you the very latest. 10 a.m. This is like your morning sort of meeting, but not just about hard news, just about what's going on in the zeitgeist. And then we'll have our Live at 5 show. Okay? So I thank you for joining. I appreciate all of you also as well who said that in the chat that you're reading my book. My new book that just came out. I really appreciate it. You can get it at your local bookstore, or you can get it on Amazon. As a matter of fact, I was on tonight with Aaron Burnett on CNN. Tomorrow night, I will be on with none other than Miss Joy Reid on MSNBC at 7 p.m. Eastern. Okay, and then I'll let you know what happens the rest of the week. So, best show tonight, says SFL. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Love you, Don, says Judith Marrero. I love you guys as well. Thanks for being part of the elimination. This is Don. Midnight train to Georgia. Yes, you guys forget. I used to work until midnight or even later on CNN if there was breaking news. So I would probably be there tonight because I would tell my producers, we got to talk about this Diddy story. We're going to keep going. So good night, Don and chat, says Susie Q. Good night, everyone. Thank you, Kevin B, for supporting independent media. I appreciate it. Before you get out of here, make sure you hit the thumbs up, please. Hit that thumbs up, like and subscribe, and then sign up for our notifications so you'll know when we're coming on, okay? Thank you. Mr. Lemon called me bro. I feel like it. If I feel like it. Thank you. Who is that? Oh, is that Andrew Gooseby? Okay, thanks everyone. Have a great night. Thanks for joining. I'll see you in the morning at 10.